So different. Those are Jack Colback's exact words when comparing Newcastle United and Sunderland right now. Now, I know what you're thinking. Jack Colback, the lad who swapped red and white for black and white back in 2014 on a free transfer and became one of the most controversial figures in the North East. Yeah, that Jack Colback. And he's just weighed in on the current situations at both clubs. And honestly, what he said about both clubs might just surprise you. I'm Rodrigo, and you're watching Newcastle Mania, the channel made by a supporter and for supporters who are absolutely mad about Newcastle United. You blinked, and Newcastle turned into headline news everywhere you look. Now, before we dive into what Colback's been saying, we've got some brilliant context to set up first. But hold on, just one quick word. If you love Newcastle and want to keep up with absolutely everything happening at our club, subscribe to the channel right now. It costs you nothing, helps us massively, and makes all the difference to growing our black and white community. Right, let's get into it. So different. Those are Jack Colback's exact words when comparing Newcastle United and Sunderland right now. Now, I know what you're thinking. Jack Colback, the lad who swapped red and white for black and white back in 2014 on a free transfer and became one of the most controversial figures in the North East? Yeah, that Jack Colback. And he's just weighed in on the current situations at both clubs. And honestly, what he said might make you rethink a few things about where we are as a club right now. Let's be honest, it takes some bottle to speak publicly about both Newcastle and Sunderland when you're the man who crossed that divide, doesn't it? But Colback's done exactly that in a recent interview with TalkSport, and his comments have sent ripples through the Toon Army and probably down Wayside as well. The Eddie Howe backing. So, what's Colback actually said? Well, first and foremost, he's thrown his full support behind Eddie Howe. And this comes at a time when, let's not sugarcoat it, we're in a bit of a pickle. That defeat to Brentford at the weekend left us just 2 points above the relegation zone. 2 points! After everything we've achieved in recent seasons under Howe, that's a tough pill to swallow. The media has been circling like vultures, questioning whether Howe's under pressure. Is his job on the line? Should we be looking at alternatives? All the usual noise that comes when results aren't going our way. But Colback is having none of it. He has what he told TalkSport. I don't think Eddie Howe's job should be on the line at all. He's done remarkable things, and for all the talk about Newcastle and the money they've got behind them, they can't really spend it. They've lost Alexander Isak, which is a huge loss for them, but I'd put money on Newcastle finishing a lot better than where they are now. Now, that's significant, isn't it? A former player, someone who knows the pressure of wearing that shirt, publicly backing the manager when things are looking shaky. Colback's clearly seen something in what Howe's built here, and he's not ready to throw it away just because of a rough patch. The European football factor. But here's where it gets interesting. Colback didn't just defend Howe, he actually explained why he thinks we're struggling. And it's not about tactics or personnel, it's about the sheer mental and physical toll of competing on multiple fronts. What's difficult for them is that they are playing European football, and maybe it's difficult to lift yourself so high for those games to then go again in the Premier League a few days later. It's tough. You see it a lot with teams who are in Europe, they struggle in the league. And you know what? He's absolutely spot on there. Look at our Champions League performances. We've been brilliant. We've shown up against elite European opposition and held our own. Same with the Carabao Cup. But then we've got to dust ourselves off and go again in the Premier League just days later, and that's where we've been found wanting. It's the classic case of squad depth meeting fixture congestion, innit? And when you've got key players like Alexander Isak out, injured, which Colback specifically mentioned, it becomes even more difficult to maintain that consistency across all competitions. So how have people reacted to Colback's comments? Well, it's been mixed as you'd expect. On social media, sections of the Toon Army have actually appreciated his honest assessment. They've pointed out that Colback's not making excuses for us, he's simply explaining the reality of what modern football demands from clubs competing at the highest level. But there's also been some scepticism. Some fans are wondering whether Colback, who hasn't exactly got legendary status at your St James's Park, let's be honest, is the right person to be weighing in on our current predicament. His time at Newcastle was decent, but hardly memorable, and the fact that he came from Sunderland on a free transfer always left a sour taste for some supporters. The media, meanwhile, has jumped on Colback's comments as further evidence that Howe's position is becoming increasingly scrutinised. Headlines like, "Former Newcastle midfielder backs under pressure Howe," don't exactly scream confidence, do they? Even when someone's supporting the manager, the narrative gets twisted to suggest he needs supporting in the first place. But here's the thing, and this is important. Colback's not some random pundit spouting hot takes for clicks. He's a player who's been there, done that, worn the shirt. He knows what it takes to compete at this level, and his perspective carries weight because of that experience. Now, let's zoom out a second and look at the bigger picture here. Eddie Howe has been nothing short of transformational for Newcastle United. When he arrived, we were staring down the barrel of relegation, genuinely. And he turned us into a Champions League side within 18 months. That's not just impressive, that's borderline miraculous. But football's got a short memory, hasn't it? One bad run and suddenly everything he's achieved gets questioned. That's the nature of the beast at the top level. There's no room for sentiment when results aren't going your way. The reality is that we're dealing with financial fair play restrictions that have massively limited our ability to strengthen the squad. Colback mentioned this specifically. For all the talk about Newcastle and the money they've got behind them, they can't really spend it. And that's the frustration, isn't it? We've got owners with deep pockets, but FFP has our hands tied behind our backs. Add to that the injury to Alexander Isak, our most important attacking player, and you start to see why we've struggled. We don't have the depth that clubs like Manchester City or Arsenal have built up over years of unrestricted spending. We're still building that, and injuries expose our limitations. Let's talk specifics for a moment. What exactly has gone wrong with our Premier League form?
Going forward, without Isak, we've lacked that killer instinct in the final third. Callum Wilson's tried his best, but he's not the same type of player, and the system doesn't quite function as smoothly without Isak's movement and finishing ability. But, and this is crucial, when we've turned up for the big European nights, we've looked absolutely brilliant. The intensity's been there, the tactical discipline's been spot on, and we've shown we can compete with anyone. That's what makes our league form so frustrating. We know what this team's capable of because we've seen it. Colback's point about the mental challenge of lifting yourself for European games and then backing it up domestically is massive here. It's not just physical fatigue, it's psychological too. When you've just gone toe-to-toe with AC Milan or Paris Saint-Germain, how do you then get yourself up for a trip to Brentford? It shouldn't matter, but human nature being what it is, it does. Now, Colback's absolutely right when he says we see this pattern with other clubs in Europe. Look at West Ham last season. They had a brilliant Europa Conference League run but really struggled domestically. Brighton this season started poorly in the league whilst focusing on European football. It's a genuine phenomenon. But here's where it gets interesting. The elite clubs don't seem to suffer from this as much. Manchester City can juggle everything. So can Arsenal, Liverpool too. Why? Because they've got squads of 20-plus top-quality players who can all step in without a significant drop-off. We're not there yet. We're building towards that, but we're not there. That's what makes this season so pivotal. If we can navigate through this rough patch, and Colback clearly believes we will, it'll have been a massive learning experience for the club. We'll understand what we need to do differently, where we need to strengthen, and how to manage the demands of multi-competition football. Now, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that Colback also spoke about Sunderland in this interview. He praised what they're doing in the Championship, calling their form remarkable and unbelievable. He even suggested they could potentially qualify for Europe if they get promoted. And fair play to him for being diplomatic about it. Despite the way he left Sunderland, which obviously didn't go down well with their supporters, he's shown respect for what they're building. He called them a great club, which, regardless of how we feel about them, is objectively true. But what's fascinating is how different the two situations are right now. Sunderland are flying high in the Championship with momentum and belief. We're struggling in the Premier League, but competing well in Europe. It really is so different, as Colback put it. Both clubs facing entirely different challenges, but with equally passionate fan bases desperate for success. So where does this leave us? Well, if Colback's right, and I think there's a good chance he is, we'll see Newcastle finish much stronger than where we currently sit. The January transfer window could be crucial. If we can bring in some reinforcements, particularly with Isak's injury issues, that could be the spark we need. But beyond that, it's about belief, isn't it? Do we stick with Eddie Howe through this rough patch, or do we panic and make a change? Colback's clearly in the stick with Howe camp, and I'd argue most rational Newcastle supporters are as well. The man's earned the right to work through this difficult period. The next few weeks will be telling. We've got some crucial Premier League fixtures coming up, and we need to start picking up points. The Europa League and Carabao Cup are great, but if we don't sort out our league form, those competitions won't matter much if we're genuinely dragged into a relegation battle. But here's what I believe. Eddie Howe knows what he's doing. He's proven himself time and time again. This squad is better than what they're currently showing, and with a bit of luck with injuries and maybe a smart signing or two in January, we'll be absolutely fine. Jack Colback backing Eddie Howe might not have been anyone's bingo card this season, but you know what? It's a reminder that sometimes outsiders can see things clearer than those of us in the thick of it. Colback's watched what Howe has built at Newcastle, the identity, the connection with the fans, the genuine progress, and he recognises that you don't just throw that away because of a few bad results. When Newcastle United, we've been through far worse than this and come out the other side. This club has survived relegations, takeover battles, Mike Ashley's entire ownership. We can certainly survive a dodgy run of Premier League form whilst competing in the Champions League. The key word here is perspective. Yes, we're disappointed with where we are in the league table, but let's not forget where we were just a few years ago. Let's not forget the journey Eddie Howe's taken us on. And let's definitely not forget that we're still in 3 competitions and very much capable of making something special happen this season. Colback said he'd put money on us finishing a lot better than where we are now. And you know what? So would I. Because that's what Newcastle United does. We fight. We scrap. We never give up. And when everyone's writing us off, that's when we're at our most dangerous. Right. That's where we are with the Jack Colback situation and his backing of Eddie Howe. What do you reckon? Is Colback right to stick by Howe? Do you agree with his analysis about European football affecting our league form? Or do you think we need to make changes sooner rather than later? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one of them and I love hearing what you all think. And listen, if you've enjoyed this video and you want to stay up to date with everything Newcastle United, the good, the bad and everything in between, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We're building something special here at Newcastle Mania, and I'd love for you to be part of it. How are the lads? And I'll see you in the next one.